to create the manipulation that takes us down the road to tyranny. And if you look at the Masonic structure, or any structure of any secret society, it's just the same. Because alongside this network of interbreeding families, you have the secret society network, which they use to make sure either they or their gophers occupy the positions of power. So here you have the Masonic structure. The vast majority of Freemasons, because people say, it's the Freemasons. No, it's not. The vast majority of Freemasons haven't got a clue what their organization's part of. Only the few do. These different secret societies, like the Freemasons, the Knights of Malta, the Knights Templar, all these different ones, they feed the chosen few up into this other pyramid that I'll call the Illuminati pyramid, but these organizations don't like to give themselves names, because you try researching an organization that doesn't have a name. Not easy, so you have to give it one. But Illuminati is one they do use. And it's at this level of the game where the real knowledge is and the real manipulation comes from. So even the vast majority of people in secret societies have no clue what it's all about. This is Albert Pike, infamous and famous Freemason in America, absolutely almost worshipped by the Freemasonic community in America. And he said this: fictions are necessary to the people, and the truth becomes deadly to those who are not strong enough to contemplate it in all its brilliance. In fact, what can there be in common between the vile multitude and sublime wisdom? The truth must be kept secret, and the masses need a teaching proportioned to their imperfect reason. That is exactly the game, to keep that knowledge in the hands of the few and the mass of the people in ignorance of that knowledge. Coordinate 3, techniques of manipulation that take them along the road to this Orwellian state. If I've made any contribution at all in the last 20 years, I think one of the things that has had the biggest impact was to invent the term problem, reaction, solution for something that was known before as the Hegelian dialectic. And it describes a technique of mass manipulation that is devastatingly simple and devastatingly effective. I'm about to describe 9/11. What happens, this is the 33rd degree of Freemasonry, by the way. They have a motto, ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. That is problem, reaction, solution. Creating the problem, then offering the solution to it. After 9/11, George Bush said, "You're free and freedom is beautiful, and you know it'll take time to restore chaos and order out of chaos, but we will." Problem, reaction, solution is that same thing, order out of chaos. Works like this. You want to change the world in a way that you know if you do it openly, you're going to get a massive public resistance, like all these Orwellian changes that are going on today. So you don't do it openly. You play this technique. Stage 1, you covertly create a problem. It could be a terrorist event, it could be a war, it could be a run on a currency, whatever suits the solution you want to provide. You then tell, and we come back to what I was talking about earlier, you then tell the public through an unquestioning mainstream media, overwhelmingly, with honorable exceptions, the version of that problem that you want them to believe, i.e. Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy with a bullet that turned corners. That amazingly efficient, effective terror on 9/11 was orchestrated from some guy in a cave in Afghanistan. Hope he had a mobile phone. You want people to believe, you have to create a false villain to hide the fact that you're really behind it. You want the public at stage 2 to react with fear, with outrage, and words to the effect of, something must be done, this can't go on, what are they going to do about it? at which point you, who have covertly created the problem, glean that public reaction, or at least the acceptance that something must be done. You then offer openly the solutions to the problems you have yourself created. This is why Tony Blair said after 9/11, the world has changed and never will be the same again. It wasn't meant to be the same again. If you look at the two world wars, at the Second World War here, if you look after the First World War, the power in the world was in far fewer hands than it was before the start. We had the first attempt at a global body, the League of Nations. After the Second World War, power was in dramatically fewer hands than it was before the start, with the World Bank and the IMF and all these global institutions that emerged. And what you had, and I go into this in great detail in my books, you had the same force behind the Nazis and funding them, and you had the same force funding the Soviet Union, funding Britain, funding America. There's a guy, I said in my books years ago that the Bush family, through a guy called Prescott Bush, who is the grandfather of the current president, funded Hitler to a massive extent through a bank called the Union Banking Corporation, which interfaced with the banking and steel empire of a guy called Fritz Thyssen, who was acknowledged as one of the major funders of Hitler. And people just kind of dismissed this and, oh no, can't be. And then a guy came out who is the head of the Holocaust Museum down in Florida, who came out publicly and said, yeah, the Bush family's fortune came from funding the Nazis through Prescott Bush. So you fund both sides, you bring them into a war, and then that changes society forever. And at the end of the war, you say, look, we've had 2 world wars in just a few years here, and the people are tired and in a desperate state, waiting for any solution to this problem. So, what was the solution? An explosion of globally centralized institutions, which today are massively part of the Orwellian state. This is what one of the major Nazis said. Why, of course, the people don't want war? Why should some poor slob on a farm want to risk his life in a war when the best he can get out of it is to come back to his farm in one piece? Naturally, the common people don't want war, neither in Russia, nor in England, nor for that matter in Germany. That is understood. But after all, it is the leaders of the country who determine the policy, and it is always a simple matter to drag the people along, whether it is a democracy or a fascist dictatorship. Voice or no voice, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. That is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the peacemakers for their lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in any country and in any generation. Abraham Lincoln said, public sentiment is everything. With public sentiment, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. He who molds opinion is greater than he who enacts the laws. Well, if you mold opinion, you can then enact any laws you want. It's all a mind game. Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf. All propaganda must be so popular and on such an intellectual level that even the most stupid of those towards whom it is directed will understand it. People can be made to perceive paradise as hell and the other way round, to consider the most wretched sort of life as paradise. So it's all a mind game. That's what problem reaction solution is. And there's another version now, no problem reaction solution. Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. You don't even need a real problem, just the perception of one to justify the action that was taken. And if you'll note, they've been desperately running around